The humid air hung thick and still over the Chao Phraya River, mirroring the quiet stagnation that had settled over Mali's life since her husband's passing. From the shaded veranda of her wooden house, built on sturdy stilts near the water's edge, she watched the sluggish brown current carry hyacinths downstream towards the burgeoning capital, Bangkok, a day's slow journey away. The scent of damp earth mingled with the faint sweetness of mango blossoms from the orchard behind the house, her inheritance, along with this riverside trading post and the ledgers filled with dwindling accounts. Her husband, older and kind but plagued by illness, had left her this legacy barely a year into their marriage, a union marked more by nursing than by intimacy. Now, in her early 20s, Mali felt the weight of responsibility press down like the monsoon sky before a storm. The trading post, once bustling under her husband's experienced hand, now saw fewer long-tail boats moor at its small dock. Whispers travelled along the river, whispers about Kun Vichai, a local official whose influence spread like invasive weeds, choking the life out of smaller enterprises. His compound, larger and more imposing than any other nearby, stood as a constant, silent reminder of his ambition. Malay knew he coveted her strategic location, the deep water access her dock provided. She clutched the smooth teak railing, her knuckles white. Loneliness was a constant companion. Silent and heavy, but the creeping tendrils of fear were something new, something cold. She needed help. Not just hands to load rice sacks or repair the fraying thatch roof, but someone reliable, someone who wouldn't run off with the meagre earnings like the last boy she'd hired. He arrived with the morning mist, a figure materializing at the edge of her property. Annan. He asked for work, his voice quiet but steady, his eyes holding a watchfulness that seemed out of place for a simple laborer. He was lean but strongly built, his skin darkened by the sun, suggesting a life spent outdoors, perhaps on the river itself. A faint, pale scar marked his temple, a subtle map of past hardship. Malay, usually reserved, found herself studying him. There was an intensity in his gaze, a stillness in his posture that intrigued and unnerved her in equal measure. "Can you handle boat repairs?" "And loading?" she asked, her voice more curt than intended. He simply nodded. "I can work, Kun Malay." The respectful address felt strange, yet proper. She needed the help desperately. Against her better judgment, fueled by necessity, she agreed. "There is lodging in the small shed near the orchard. Work begins at sunrise." He bowed slightly, a gesture of respect that seemed genuine, and followed her directions without another word. Days turned into weeks. Annan proved more than capable. He was efficient, tireless, and possessed a quiet competence that slowly eased some of Mali's burdens. He repaired the sagging dock with surprising skill, reinforced the storage sheds against the coming rains, and handled the loading and unloading of the few boats that still came, his movements economical and strong. Malay found herself watching him more often than necessary. She'd linger near the orchard while he pruned the mango trees, noting the fluid strength in his arms, the focus in his eyes. Sometimes their hands would brush accidentally while handling ropes or sorting goods, sending an unexpected jolt through her. She would pull back quickly, a flush rising on her neck, disturbed by the unfamiliar sensation. He, too, would flinch slightly, his gaze dropping, a flicker of something unreadable in his expression before it smoothed back into respectful deference. Shared meals became moments of quiet tension. During a sudden downpour that trapped them in the main storage shed, they ate sticky rice and dried fish in near silence, the drumming of rain on the roof amplifying the unspoken awareness between them. Mali, starved for companionship, found herself inventing reasons to interact, asking his opinion on storing certain goods, requesting help with tasks that stretched longer than needed, just to keep him near, to observe the quiet intensity that emanated from him. She learned little about his past. He offered few details, speaking only when necessary, his answers polite but brief. Yet she sensed a depth beneath the surface, a history hinted at by the scar and the watchful eyes. He, in turn, treated her with unwavering respect, but she sometimes caught his gaze lingering on her when he thought she wasn't looking, a heat in his eyes that mirrored the unsettling warmth spreading through her own chest. This quiet man, this Annan, was becoming a fixture not just on her property, but in her thoughts, a dangerous and unwelcome intrusion into her carefully guarded solitude. The pressure from Khun Vichai intensified. A new levy was imposed on goods stored at independent docks. Buyers who had traded with her family for years suddenly found reasons to take their business elsewhere, their apologies vague, their eyes avoiding hers. Malay knew Vichai's hand was behind it, squeezing her, isolating her. Her income dwindled further. Fear coiled tighter in her stomach, making her nights restless. Her reliance on Anand grew. He seemed to anticipate her needs, shoring up defences both physical and metaphorical, working with a quiet ferocity that went beyond mere employment. He spoke little of Vichai, but Malay saw the tightening of his jaw, the hardening of his eyes whenever the official's name was mentioned, or his boat passed by on the river. The unspoken tension between them shifted, charged now not just with awareness, but with a shared, silent opposition to the threat encroaching upon them. Malay felt increasingly drawn to his quiet strength, seeing him not just as a worker, but as a shield, however fragile, against the storm gathering around her. The attack came on a moonless night, announced by the harsh splintering of the wooden gate and rough shouts that shattered the river's tranquility. Malay's heart leaped into her throat. Torches flared in the darkness, casting monstrous shadows. Rough-looking men, faces grim, stormed onto her property. She recognized a couple of them, local thugs known to work for anyone who paid, often seen lounging near Vichai's compound. "The charter," one of them snarled, kicking open the door to her house. "Khun Vichai wants the trade charter." Malay shrank back, trembling. The charter, granted years ago, gave her favourable access and tax rates, the lifeblood of her small business. Suddenly, Anand was there, appearing seemingly from nowhere, a sturdy bamboo pole gripped in his hands. He moved with surprising speed, placing himself between Malay and the intruders. "Leave her alone," he commanded, his voice low and dangerous. The lead thug laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Anand, what's this? You forget who you owe? You follow him now?" Anand didn't flinch. "This is not your concern. Leave." The confrontation exploded into violence. Anand fought with desperate skill, the pole a whistling extension of his arms, but he was outnumbered. A glint of steel flashed, a knife. Anand cried out, stumbling back, clutching his side where blood bloomed dark against his simple shirt. He sank to his knees, still trying to shield Malay. Seeing him wounded, vulnerable, broke something inside her. "Stop!" she screamed, her voice thin with terror. "Take it! Just leave him!" Sobbing, she retrieved the rolled parchment document from its secure box and threw it towards the men. The leader snatched it up, grinning triumphantly. He kicked Anand viciously one last time. "A warning, Khun Malay. No one needs to know about this. Khun Vichai has long arms." Then, as quickly as they appeared, they melted back into the night, leaving behind silence, destruction, and the metallic scent of blood. Malay knelt beside Anand, her hands shaking as she tried to staunch the flow of blood from the deep gash in his side. His face was pale, etched with pain, but his eyes, when they met hers, were filled with a raw, agonizing guilt. Gratitude warred with a sickening wave of fear and betrayal. "You follow him now?" The thug's words echoed in her mind. What did they mean? What past connection did Anand have with these brutes, with Vichai? She helped him stumble into the house, her touch gentle despite the turmoil inside her. She cleaned the wound as best she could, her fingers trembling as they brushed against his skin. He bore the pain in silence, his gaze fixed on the floor, shame radiating from him like heat. For days she nursed him, bringing him broth and water, changing the bandages. The air between them was thick with unspoken questions, with the weight of his hidden past and her fractured trust. He recovered slowly, his physical strength returning, but the light in his eyes remained dimmed by remorse. He tried to speak once, his voice hoarse. "Khun Malay, I..." But she couldn't hear it. Not yet. The image of him fighting for her was vivid, but so was the thug's mocking question. When he was finally strong enough to walk steadily, the inevitable conversation arrived, heavy and dreaded. "Anand," she began, her voice barely a whisper, unable to meet his eyes. "I am grateful you protected me. But I heard what they said. I cannot." She couldn't finish. The implication hung between them. She couldn't trust him, not fully, not now. "You should go." His shoulders slumped, but he didn't argue. He simply nodded, the pain in his eyes deeper than any physical wound. "I understand, Khun Malay. Forgive me." He gathered his few belongings and walked away from the house towards the river path, leaving Mali alone once more, the silence now heavier, colder, and tinged with a profound sense of loss that felt like another bereavement. Without the charter, Mali's business withered completely. Vichai's boats now dominated the river traffic past her dock, his agents openly diverting any potential trade. Her savings dwindled rapidly. The vibrant riverside home felt hollow, haunted by the memory of violence and the ghost of Anand's presence. The orchard yielded its fruit, but she lacked the means to transport it effectively or find fair buyers. Despair began to set in, a creeping vine threatening to suffocate her resilience. Finally, swallowing her pride, she sought out Priya, a slightly older widow who ran a small textile stall in the nearby market cluster. Priya listened patiently, her expression sympathetic, offering Mali temporary shelter in her modest home behind the stall. "This Vichai," Priya sighed, shaking her head as she sorted silks. "He grows too bold, but Mali, appealing to the district governor, Vichai has connections there too. It could bring more trouble." Mali knew Priya was right. She had heard tales of petitions disappearing, of complainants facing sudden misfortunes. The system seemed designed to protect men like Vichai, not women like her. She felt trapped, helpless, the injustice a bitter taste in her mouth. She helped Priya at the stall, the repetitive tasks a small distraction, but her thoughts constantly circled back to Anand. His quiet strength, his fierce defense, the haunting guilt in his eyes, the unanswered questions about his past. Was he truly connected to Vichai's darkness, or just another victim caught in its web? The uncertainty gnawed at her. Weeks bled into a month. Mali existed in a haze of quiet desperation, her future an unnerving blank. One evening, as she helped Priya pack away the textiles, a familiar figure emerged from the twilight shadows near the market's edge. Anand. He looked thinner, his face etched with worry, but his eyes held a new, sharp intensity. Mali's breath caught. He approached cautiously, stopping a respectful distance away. "Kun Mali," he said, his voice low. I know things are difficult." Priya discreetly retreated into her home, leaving them alone amidst the closing market stalls. "Anand," Mali whispered, unsure what to feel, relief, anger, suspicion. "I needed to ensure you were safe," he continued, his gaze earnest. "I haven't been far. I've been watching, listening." He took a deep breath. "Vichai, his corruption runs deep. It wasn't just you, Mali. Years ago, my own family, we had a trading boat, prosperous until Vichai ruined us with false accusations and seized our livelihood." The confession hung in the air, raw and painful. So he wasn't Vichai's man, but his victim. The thugs were likely remnants of desperate crews forced into Vichai's service after similar ruin. The realization shifted something within Mali, easing the knot of betrayal. "He thinks he's untouchable," Anand said, his voice hardening. "But maybe he isn't. I have an idea. A plan. It's dangerous, Mali, very dangerous. But it might be the only way to get back what he stole or to see justice done." He looked at her, his eyes searching hers, laying bare his determination and his plea for trust. Mali looked at this man marked by hardship yet standing resolute. She thought of Vichai's smug face, the stolen charter, her dwindling hope. Desperation warred with fear. But looking into Anand's eyes, she saw not deceit, but shared grievance and a fierce desire for retribution. A spark of her old resilience flickered back to life. "Tell me," she said, her voice steady now. "Tell me the plan." They became secret allies, meeting cautiously at dawn near an old, crumbling shrine overgrown with vines, their hushed voices weaving a desperate strategy against the backdrop of the waking river. Anand shared his knowledge of Vichai's network, his smuggling routes for illegal teak and opium hidden amongst legitimate cargo, the patterns of his guards. Mali provided insights into local schedules, Vichai's routines, the timing of the upcoming temple festival, Wat Arun's annual celebration, a time of great crowds and distraction. A dangerous gamble began to take shape. The night of the Wat Arun festival arrived, painting the sky with fireworks that momentarily outshone the stars. The river glittered with thousands of krathongs, small lotus-shaped floats bearing candles and incense, launched by devotees seeking good fortune and forgiveness. Crowds thronged the temple grounds, a vibrant chaos of music, food stalls, masked dancers, and fervent prayers. It was the perfect cover. Anand moved through the throng like a phantom, his senses heightened, adrenaline singing in his veins. Earlier, using knowledge gleaned from reluctant former associates. Some swayed by old loyalty, others eager for a chance to escape Vichai's grip. He had arranged for a significant cache of smuggled opium, marked with Vichai's own subtle shipping symbols, to be misplaced onto one of Vichai's barges currently docked near the festival, laden with goods ostensibly waiting for official inspection. Now, under the guise of festival revelry, he ensured an anonymous message reached the ambitious regional governor, currently visiting the festival, a man known to be both stringent and a rival of Vichai's. The message hinted at treasonous smuggling activities happening right under the governor's nose, pointing directly at Vichai's barge. Meanwhile, Malie, her heart pounding against her ribs, worked with Priya near the riverbank. Inside a beautifully crafted krathong, nestled amongst the flowers and incense, lay Malie's stolen trade charter, retrieved by one of Anand's contacts who had shadowed Vichai's men. With trembling hands, Malie lit the candle and incense. Priya gently pushed the krathong into the current. "May the river spirits guide it," Priya whispered. They watched it float away, a tiny beacon of hope on the dark water, praying it would be found. Downstream near the temple's main landing by monks, as arranged. Back at the docks, chaos erupted. The governor, spurred by the anonymous tip and eager to undermine a rival, ordered an immediate search of Vichai's barge. Vichai, summoned from the festivities, arrived blustering, indignant, but his face turned ashen as guards uncovered the hidden opium cache. His denials were loud but futile against the damning evidence, witnessed by hundreds of festival-goers. His veneer of respectability shattered. Shouts of accusation rose from the crowd. The governor, stern-faced and triumphant, ordered Vichai's arrest. Amidst the commotion, news spread of a miraculous discovery. An old trade charter found in a blessed krathong near the temple landing. Monks presented it to the governor's aides for safekeeping. Vichai, struggling against the guards, saw the charter, saw Malie standing quietly at the edge of the crowd, her gaze meeting Anand's across the distance, and finally understood the depth of his downfall. He was dragged away, his power broken, his reign of corruption ended under the glittering explosions of the festival fireworks. In the quiet aftermath of the festival, the air slowly cleared. Kun Vichai was gone, stripped of his position and facing severe charges related to smuggling and abuse of power. His assets were seized, his network dismantled. Malie, with Priya's quiet support and the governor's formal and slightly bewildered return of her charter, began the slow process of reclaiming her business. The river seemed to flow a little freer past her dock. Anand dealt cautiously with the remaining threads of his past. Some of his former associates had disappeared during the festival chaos. Others faced lesser charges but offered information against Vichai in exchange for leniency. He was finally untethered from that life. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Malie found Anand standing on the newly repaired dock, looking out over the water. She joined him, the silence between them comfortable now, filled not with tension but with shared relief and unspoken understanding. "It's truly over," Malie said softly, more to herself than to him. Anand turned to her, his eyes searching hers. The watchfulness was still there, but softened now, replaced by a deep, steady warmth. "Vichai is gone. Your charter is back. Thanks to you, Anand, you risked everything." He shook his head. "We risked it together. And it was not just for you. It was for my family, for the justice that was long overdue.